Welcome to the Central Prairie Co-op Podcast, your go-to source for all things agriculture. Each week, we bring you expert insights, market trends, and real stories from the field. Whether you're a seasoned producer or joining us for the first time, there is something here for you. So, grab a coffee and let's dive into the business of agriculture from the ground up. Welcome to the Central Prairie Co-op Podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Brendan Giesick from Adams Brown Technology, our managed service provider, is here with us today, and we're going to talk cybersecurity. What does it mean in today's world? How can you protect yourself? And how does Central Prairie Co-op protect our systems and your data? And this is timely because this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So let's start here. What is cybersecurity? So as technology has advanced, which has been exponential over the last few years, so have bad actors, right? And they are always finding new ways to steal data, ransom systems, and so forth. So cybersecurity is really the practice of protecting those systems and our networks and our data from those kinds of digital attacks. What we try to do is ensure confidentiality, keeping your personal information private, making sure data is accurate and is complete and hasn't been changed or tampered with in any way, and available to make sure our systems and our data are accessible when we need them. The reason why this is so important today, just some stats for you. Today in 2025, approximately 402 million terabytes of data are created each day.
Wow.
That is a big number. That is a
number.
hard number to wrap your mind around. Mm-hmm. Consider all the work you do on systems at work, all of your social media you might participate in, all your work and private email. I mean, we are collecting a lot of data, and that data has value.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would wager that a lot of that data is what we call PII, or personally identifiable pieces of information.
Yes.
And as we continue to catapult ourselves into a digital world, the more personal information everything seems to require to be able to not only just do your job, but to live your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's estimated that 90% of the world's data was generated in the last 2 years alone. So when I talked about technology advancing exponentially, so has our data collection. Like, we're collecting data about everything because we're trying to predict things, trying to prescribe things based on data, retain customers in some cases, decide what we should plant in our field and apply to it to get the best yields. As all of that technology has grown, of course, we're generating more data. Data from 2022 shows that almost 250 million emails are sent every minute. Over 24 hours, that is over 333 billion emails.
And I'll add to that, 90% of all cyber attacks come through email of some form.
It is a really easy way to bait you and catch you, right?
Yeah.
When you're busy or stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or someone that you know whose email could have been breached.
Yes, absolutely.
Someone that you work with regularly, who maybe, it can happen to anyone, really.
It really can.
But, someone that you are used to working with and trust, and now you get an email from them and you fall for it. A lot of things today come down to human error.
Absolutely.
And it's the trust but verify mentality that we have to get
Absolutely.
into now.
Absolutely. Humans, we are still the weakest link in the equation. Mm-hmm. And as our collection of data has increased, obviously, crimes involving theft of data breaches, phishing attacks, business email compromise attacks, and ransomware attacks have also increased. There was a time a couple of years ago when farm cooperatives were literally being targeted with ransomware.
Yep.
The other side to this is there is a huge cost to this kind of crime. The cost of recovering from a ransomware attack is currently, on average, 10 times as much as the amount attackers demand in ransom. Because it's not about just paying them to get your systems back,
Yeah.
right?
It's really not.
It's about the downtime.
Yep.
It's about the things you can't accomplish in your business while they have control of your systems.
Yeah.
It has a huge impact.
Absolutely. And I'll add to that, because I actually come from the cyber liability insurance world. And so I saw a lot of bad days for businesses who had
Man.
faced a ransomware attack and had to lean on their cyber liability insurance, because that truly is the last line of defense that you could have to protect yourself and your business. And I won't name names, but there was a hospital that we were working with that faced a cyber attack. I think the ransom itself was under $1 million, but the lost business income and expense took every bit of a $4 million policy.
Yeah.
And they were down for, I think, a week and a half.
Yeah, that is incredible.
And they ended up subsequently getting non-renewed by that cyber carrier, and kind of had a tough time finding insurance after that.
Yeah.
Because they kind of have that blip on the record.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so you need not just your cybersecurity defenses up, but you need kind of that last line of defense with insurance, and also ensuring that that insurance is going to cover your business, not just the cost of paying a ransom or some dollars for public relations or notification and things like that.
Absolutely. Because an attack like that can take out a business. In fact, 1 in 5 small businesses would go out of business after a successful cyber attack.
Yeah.
That is frightening.
Absolutely.
That is frightening. The point, all of this is to educate us all and to understand that the threat of these kinds of attacks, they are real. Just because we are a small farm cooperative in Kansas does not mean we're not on the radar, especially in terms of food supply and in terms of all the food that we provide across the world. For us, making people aware that this is an issue, implementing a prevention strategy, those things are tantamount to keeping Central Prairie Co-op in business. We have recently partnered with Adams Brown, and we are super excited about this. Adams Brown does some things for us to ensure our employees are educated and aware of the threats posed to our business.
Yeah, as Mandy mentioned earlier, the humans are really the weakest link in any environment. And like most managed services providers, we provide a strong cybersecurity tool stack. But at the end of the day, if someone were to click on an email, you're opening the front door for someone to come in. And so what we do is we roll out cyber awareness training to employees that will not only educate them, but also run real scenarios like phishing tests to show people, hey, this is what this looks like. And if you are to click on it, you get the banner like, gotcha, but you need to fail forward like that.
Absolutely.
And with that, there's little training videos, and we use a tool called Breach Secure Now. And there's training videos that go along with that keep you up to date on the latest threats, to stay aware of those things.
I think that a lot of those emails come with like a sense of urgency or a sense of high pressure, and people feel like they need to act.
Yeah.
And that just adds to the complexity
Absolutely.
of identifying those.
Yep.
Adams Brown provides some of the cybersecurity tools for Central Prairie Co-op to secure our systems, to secure our data.
Yeah, so at Adams Brown Tech, we kind of like to throw the kitchen sink at cybersecurity. There's a million different ways to skin a cat, and that's especially true in IT and cybersecurity. Yeah. We start foundationally with really good endpoint security. So we've partnered with a company called Arete that also provides us our Sentinel-1 endpoint detection and response tool. This is a little bit different than your old school antiviruses. Your old school antiviruses, they kept an eye out for known threats, right? I like to classify Sentinel-1 as more like a junkyard bulldog. It's kind of on the hunt, right? It's identifying anomalies. It's looking for things that it hasn't seen before. And with Arete, they have a 24/7 security operations center. Oftentimes you'll hear that called a SOC. They are constantly reviewing alerts, quarantining things. They're notifying us, notifying you guys. And a lot of the times the alerts that we will see come over weekends or holidays where activity typically spikes.
Yeah.
With that, though, we also have a tool called Threat Locker. And Threat Locker, I like to call it a anti-ransomware tool, because we have actually seen it before stop a ransomware. But what Threat Locker does is it does not allow any unapproved downloads to happen or any unapproved executables to happen on your endpoint. So let's say we talked a lot about human error. But where Threat Locker kind of thrives is, let's say someone does click on an email and it starts to run an executable in the background that you just can't see. Threat Locker will actually stop that if configured correctly, and it'll notify us. It'll pop up a request access box, and then we have to actually approve that. Where Threat Locker really thrives is you can do global whitelisting of your trusted partners, your trusted softwares. We also put a lot into the email security. Again, 90% of attacks come through email. Another trend that we've seen recently is threat actors taking not just your email credentials, but also trying to log into what we call the domain admin portal and changing rules to change where things go, change what you can see. And so we have a tool through Kaseya called SaaS Alerts that not only monitors for unidentified logins on the emails, but also monitors for rule changes. Most people aren't in their email changing rules or in the admin portal changing rules, unless it's the IT person.
Right.
The only person outside of your IT people who's doing that's probably a threat actor. So SaaS Alerts allows us that visibility and alerts us and quarantines those things. You can also do some geofencing with that. And geofencing, just for those who are listening, that's where you're limiting literally geographically who can access what. Then there's also Proofpoint and Graphis. We kind of have both of those options out there. But what that is that's an email gateway tool. And that's scanning every email that's coming into your inbox. It's scanning that email and seeing, if you work in a company and your email comes in and there's the banner that pops up that says this is coming from outside of your organization, that's your email gateway tool doing that. Proofpoint and Graphis, they both will quarantine emails with malicious attachments. And if you have the right email gateway in place, it'll stop that and quarantine it elsewhere, and you can block it and do what you will with it.
Yeah.
There's other tools we use, like multi-factor authentication, the cyber awareness training. We do penetration testing for our clients. Really what we are trying to do is we're trying to secure your home, right? And so think about this visually, where you have your house. And, just imagine your house today, or imagine a house with kind of a broken down wooden fence up front. The gate's wide open. There's a window open on the house. And there's a lot of means of access to that house. A threat actor will see this and they'll be like, that's easy pickings, right?
Right.
What we're trying to do is we're putting a wrought iron fence out front, a peripheral security system, a big Rottweiler sitting at the gate. The doors are locked, the windows are locked, just like, a cat burglar. Threat actors operate the same way.
Yeah.
They may see your system from the outside and they're going to go, okay, yeah, these guys got WatchGuard firewalls in place. I can see they're configured securely. I'm going to move on to the guy who just has an ISP router in place, and I know I can get through that. They operate very similarly, and so we really stack the gamut against that to not only posture ourselves well in the cyber landscape, but give us every defense we possibly can if somebody were to target one of our clients.
Right. So the good news here is that as cybercrime has advanced with technology, so has cybersecurity. So have the tools that we can use to make certain that our systems are safe. We work diligently to ensure that security.
Absolutely.
Brendan, we've gone over a lot today. To wrap things up, I wondered if you could kind of give us an overview of what an incident response looks like in the event of an attack.
First of all, God forbid this happens, but every company, any organization in the world needs to have an incident response plan, because an incident response plan is not just, we've been breached, I guess the IT guys will handle it. It's bigger than that. This is a business impacting event now. And so you need to have a plan that's tailored to your business, that calls out different names of people involved with their business with different roles and responsibilities. Your insurance company actually has the resources and the forensics and all of those tools you need to really start to batten down the hatches and get things remediated. Now, the IT company, us Adams Brown, is going to be very heavily involved in that. And we should be one of the first calls. If we don't know about it already, we need to know about it so we can start doing things on our end, shutting things down. But your insurance company needs to be a call to getting them involved and getting those resources involved. Deeper than that even is we should be notifying, your legal team.
Yeah.
You should be notifying, if you have any compliance driven needs, you should probably be notifying them. And I'm talking worst case scenario here. There's times where someone clicks on an email, we know something happened. It's a small incident, right? I'm talking like we're down and we can't operate.
Right. Exactly.
What's our next steps? If you've ever watched The Office, do you ever watch that show?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So there's an episode in The Office where Dwight, he starts a fire in the office to see how people will respond because he's been trying to train them on, the fire drill and no one will listen. And so Dwight decides to start a fire in the office. Well, people see smoke and they're like, oh my gosh, there's a fire. And Dwight's sitting there like, what's the procedure? And, everyone's like, every man for themselves. They're throwing printers through the windows. They're screaming, they can't get through the door because he heated up all the handles. And I think today a lot of companies would operate that way.
I think you're right.
Because they don't have a written formal incident response plan that they actually practice every once in a while too. It is a fire drill. God forbid it happens, but you have to know what are our next steps. What do we need to be doing in the event of a cyber attack? So that's at a high level. Your incident response plan needs to be tailored to you. The right players need to be in place. Your IT provider, your cyber insurance, the C-suite of your company, your legal team, any compliance-driven things. All of that needs to be in there.
Yeah.
Everyone has a role, and you're breaking out that book and following that plan if something were to happen.
Right.
It's not always a high priority until it is.
Yeah.
And so just getting a version 1 in place and at least having something. Like we know that if something were to happen, these are our next steps. And we can fall back on that in the event of a fire.
Right. And hopefully ensure the continuity of the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're at that point, it's not a saving, it's a minimized damage.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
We're trying to minimize impact at that point.
Yeah.
And so having a plan will help minimize the impact.
Yes. Yeah. And God forbid we ever have to deal with that. But we are thankful for your input today, and we are grateful for our relationship with Adams Brown. We are really looking to grow that and do more with you all. So thank you so much for coming out, Brendan.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining the Central Prairie Co-op podcast, where we talk all things ag from the ground up.